Welcome to the Connie G Show, everybody. My name is Conrad, and how are you, buddy? Let's see here. Today, I'm going to move this a little bit. I'm working on some things. So, get that out of there. Okay. Yeah, welcome to the show. Today is the 26th of January, 2023. If you want to believe that. And I'm in the shed. I have yet to go in today. Had a good run this morning. Had a long weekend. I had a long week. It's not even the weekend. I've had a long week. It's Thursday. But things are crazy. We haven't really had a weekend. So there was a snow squall that had come through the United States, and part of that was going to hit the Midwest. And for a hobby and for a living, I plow snow. So that's in Wichita. So on, let's see, Wednesday? That's yesterday. Tuesday, I drove up to Wichita, and I got there in the evening, and it was going to snow that night, and had to do some banking. That's a lot of times people will just have to do banking, and I had to do banking. And got my plow truck, and headed to my dad's house. And we had to go in that night at midnight, or that morning at midnight, and then we plowed until mid-morning, got all that cleaned up, and then I had to go pick up my car, my wife's car, which is a 2013 Ford Focus. It's pretty valuable. It's got 150,000 miles on it, and we bought it used. We bought it with about 120,000 miles on it, so you know what you're getting is my thing. If a car is driven 120,000 miles, it's just now getting broken in. Nobody wants it anymore. It's no longer a car that you got to worry about people stealing. You don't hear about people being like, what is the most common car stolen? And they say 2013 white Ford Focus. Nobody's ever said that. So the problem is, though, at some point, Ford, I got a big beef with all of these idiots. And it's not just Ford, but because I think they're all the same. It's a combination of vehicle manufacturers understanding that the population is getting lazier and stupider, or trying to, in order to confirm their beliefs on that. At some point, like in the 1980s, they were like, we think everybody's getting stupid, and like, Jerry, what do you think? And Jerry's wearing some ridiculous corduroy suit. He's like, I think everybody's fine. And he's drinking Sanka, It's like, see, Jerry's an idiot, and he works here, and he's stupid, and he's here. So people are getting stupider. But to hedge their bets, they're like, well, let's make cars simpler. And then it was like, well, let's make it simple just for us, where all we got to do is plug this in. It tells us what's wrong. But then people were like, well, what about people that want to fix their own cars? And like, nobody wants to do that. They're getting lazy and stupid. But there was a certain segment of people that did want to do it. But the manufacturers made it too difficult for them to be able to work on their own cars, but also made it but it was also okay because most people didn't want to work on their own cars. So you got a happy market because everybody's lazy and doesn't want to work on their own vehicles and doesn't want to learn. But also you have an angry section that's like, guys, just what are you putting all this crap on here for? Now we can't work on our own cars. And it's like this huge cabal that has put itself together. And what's happened is, you get these error messages because Ford has decided to make electric power steering. Nothing's wrong with the old power steering with a pump, you know what I mean? I don't know if you call it hydraulic power steering or, but using pressure and pumps and Nothing was wrong with that. It was fine, but they're like, well, let's make it better by making it electric where it runs off the brain. And it's like, but what if something goes wrong? Then they'll have to bring it in, dummy. There's nothing they can do on their own. It's like, well, what if they just want to put a new front end on their own car? Yeah, they can do it, but they're going to have to program it. And how do you program it? Well, you got to have a Ford programmer. And it's like, so anyways, a few months ago, my wife's car, the power steering stopped working. And it's common, even though when you bring it up, you can Google it, and everybody who ever owned a 2013 Ford Focus has had no power steering. That's how common it is. But then when you go to the dealership, they're like, I've never heard of that happening. It's like, really? You haven't? Because I get working at a flower shop and not knowing that 2013 Ford Focus's front ends have this problem. I get working at Chick-fil-A. And if I walked into Chick-fil-A and be like, did you know that most 2013 Ford Focuses have front end problems? You'd be like, I had no idea. But when you go to a place that sells the vehicle, when you go to a place that represents the company that manufactures this vehicle, and you've been selling this crappy vehicle for the past 10 years, and but then they still act like, no, that's never happened. And so you can't work on it even if you want to work on it. It's prohibited. There's like ways around it. You end up spending the same money, and if you value your time in any way, you spend more of your money because time is money, or it's the only currency that matters. And so, you got this weird balancing act that you're trying to do to try to get this piece of crap back on the road. Meanwhile, they don't care anymore. I mean, the places that you take it to fix it, they don't care. It's like you're dropping off a wedding band or something for a jeweler to fix. Hey, I lost a birthstone in this wedding band. And they're like, well, it's going to be about 3 months. And you're like, that's fine. I mean, I'm still going to be married in 3 months. So take your time. Just do a good job. And dealerships think that they're working on jewelry now. It's like, dog, I need this car fixed like yesterday. That's why I didn't buy this car to put in a display case. You know what I mean? If I would have bought a display, did you think this was a display car? This 2013 Ford Focus? Did you think I was displaying it at my home? I'm not. I'm sorry. I thought that you knew that I'm not. I'm driving it to work every day. I hate it, but it gets great gas mileage. That's the only reason this car is worth a shit. And if I bring it to you to fix, and you're like, wow, this is a rare problem. It's not. Wow, it's going to take us months to get the part. It wouldn't, but you do this to people. And I'm just one of the many victims that this happens to. You've made a part that is difficult to get and is prohibitively expensive and negates all the value that your fuel savings had. And you know it, and you act like you didn't, and you're the only ones that can work on it. You're the devil. So, anyways, I had to go to Wichita to plow, but while I was there, like always, I'm like, well, what else can I do while I'm here? I'm going to run over to that dealership that has my car and see what the progress is, because since you've had my car, I've had to, my wife's driving a 7.3 liter Power Stroke F250. Do you think that gets the same? You think she needs that kind of a vehicle to, drop kids off at school or take them to the science museum? It would be a great vehicle for that? A Ford Focus. You know what I mean? She has to go buy milk, but she doesn't need a Power Stroke. She's not hauling 250,000 gallons of milk today, guys. She's just going to get a gallon. And so that's why we bought this car. And if you're not going to give me a loaner car because you don't have them, that's another thing. Well, give me a loaner then. We're out. Well, give me a voucher to go get a rental car. No, we don't do that anymore. What do you guys do? You don't work on the car. We can't buy the parts from you. You can't get the parts. You don't know when it's going to be done. You don't know how much it's going to cost. And you don't have any other options for people that only have one car. How could you expect people to buy multiple cars? Guys, you're pricing them at $25,000, $50,000, $75,000. What the hell is wrong with you? Nobody can buy two cars. It's a normal person. And the person that's buying a Ford Focus needs their Ford Focus. Okay, the person that's buying a Shelby GT500, the irony is if that person's steering breaks, you'll get it fixed that day for free because you spent $150,000 on a car, but you don't even need that vehicle to get to work because if you're driving a Shelby GT500, it doesn't freaking matter. You don't need to go to work. You work from home. Life's work, whatever. You make billions. The people that need the car don't ever get the damn car back. It's like, borrow somebody's or use something else or drive something. Well, why don't you kiss my ass? How about I drive your car till it's done? How about I bring it in? You guys have cars. I'll drive one of these pieces of shit out here. Give me the Shelby GT500. I'll drive it. How long do you want me to drive it? Because you've had my car for 4 months. You know how many miles that Shelby would have on it? 40,000. Or you can get this done in 2 days, and I'll come get it, and you don't have to worry about me putting thousands of miles on that thing. But nobody wants to get their freaking hands dirty. Nobody's willing to go out on a limb for anybody. Nobody is operating a service business as if the service is what matters. They're acting like we're a service business, but we're the only place that can do it, so we can give you shitty service. So basically, car manufacturers are turning themselves into what government agencies have done. You know what I mean? Car manufacturers have made themselves so exclusive and so impenetrable, but also the gatekeepers to any kind of travel, that if you want to buy something that is reliable, you're buying it at the whims of these guys' laziness. You want to drive? Well, go get your license. Well, that's going to be... Everybody rolls their eyes when they say, go get your license. That sucks. I got to spend all day at the DMV. Hey, you guys should fix this. If everyone in the country, and including people that are foreigners that then come over here, unanimously think that your guys' stink eye down there at the DMV is unpleasant enough that you have the reputation that's probably worse than any other place's reputation. I mean, it's pretty widely known if you mention 3 letters, the acronym DMV, if you mention that, people go, oh, I'd hate to be you. You know what I mean? You could have somebody that's going through cancer treatments that has just been diagnosed with stage 1 cancer. So they caught it early. And they're going in there getting cancer treatments, guys. And you walk in, and they're like, oh, you're a UPS guy? I'm like, yeah, you're like, yeah, my name's Dave. I deliver packages. But I got to get out of here. They're like, well, what's going on? It's like, well, I got to get down to DMV. And the person that's hooked up to dialysis would be like, oh, jeez, I don't envy you. That's how bad the DMV is. And these car manufacturers are turning into that. So if you're a dealer for Chevy or Ford or GMC or Tesla or whoever you are, if you're a dealer for these pieces of crap and your service reflects what they've done, then you are bad. And at some point, people hopefully will get out of their bubbles and be like, F you, F this, we're not doing it anymore. So my car has been there for multiple months. They haven't even looked at it, guys. That's the problem. So I had to go there and be like, I guess I'll take it back. You know, I mean, I can have it sit at home. I can have it sit at home and wait for the part. I can drive it. You know, it just doesn't have power steering. It's fine. It sucks. I mean, you get stronger. You get good definition in your arms, but it sucks. So I went up there to get that and had to find out that they haven't done anything. And now you're in the position of, you know, there's another guy that maybe can work on it. And so, and then you're looking at it again yourself and you're trying all the crap that you read. Like, you know, if you just Google any problem, there's a video for it. And so you try all that stuff. And I'm just going to have to take it to this guy again and tell him, just try it. Just do it till you get it done. I mean, whatever. Because it's the crappy thing is I can drive it the way it is. I don't care. But it's not for me to drive. It's for my wife to drive. And so you just, and you can't sell it to get her something else because you can't sell a car without power steering, or you, if you do, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because even if you spend $2,000 on it, by getting this fixed, it's probably worth $3,000 or $4,000 more than what you could sell it for without it. So, and you can sell a lot easier. It's just one of those things. It's like you don't want to have to worry about this problem right now, but you have to, because you can't afford a new one. You know what I mean? You can't afford a new one. And I'm not the only one. We're going to have to burn these people down. I'm not the only one in this position. And by the way, maybe the even more enraging part is these people that represent these dealerships that they're working for, which ultimately represents the brand that they're selling for, they can't even afford to buy the crap that is out there. I mean, shouldn't that be a reflection of how bad your business is? If 99% of the consumer of your product has to deal with a dealership, and at the dealership 99% of the people that work at that dealership can't even buy the product that they're selling. So if you work here all year, can you buy a new Mustang? You mean work as a receptionist at Ford? No, you can't afford a new Mustang. Are you crazy? It's like, shouldn't you be able to buy anything that you work for? I mean, maybe that's stupid. Maybe you shouldn't be able to. I don't know. I think that maybe there's levels. Like if you work for, I don't know. I guess if you worked for a construction company, it's like you're building $1 million house. Like, that's great. I made $10 an hour working on this. I guess I feel like that with everything. You sit there and work on a bunch of crap that you can't afford. You know what I mean? For other people that can't afford it. It's a weird cycle. So it's frustrating, and I drove it back, and then I was going to do a show in the car on the way back, but I was just, tired because I'd gotten up at midnight and frustrated. So anyways, come in here, and I'll do the show like this. I don't know if I'll get to anything on the list. One thing I did notice that I think I put on the list maybe earlier. Actually, I'm looking through it here, and I guess I can look and see if I have anything. I don't think so. But I had a thought. My son is a wrestler. He's a Greco-Roman wrestler. And Greco-Roman's also the toothpaste I use. So if you're wondering how I get these pearly whites, it's Greco-Roman. So he had his concussion that he had to be treated for a number of months. So he'd been going through physical therapy and doing some other cognitive testing and stuff with a specialist and a urologist or whatever they are. I mean, that could be the total wrong doctor. That came into my head and I said it. So, but whatever, he's been going to do this since his concussion and progressing to whatever stages they want somebody his age to be able to progress to, and eventually has had made a total recovery or full recovery or sufficient enough recovery to his old self or his new self post-concussion. And so since wrestling had started, he was not able to participate with live wrestling. And it's his 4th year probably, and he's had sparks of greatness and sparks of he really gets it throughout his little short career so far. But most of the time, he's just on the losing end of that. But, each year he's gotten his effort and his knowledge has gotten to a point where, and his passion for it at times has gotten to a point where there's something there. There's a foundation to build on, but you got to be able to continue it, and you got to be able to practice it. And because of his concussion, he wasn't able to participate until a couple weeks ago in actual live wrestling. And there's a huge learning, even if you've been wrestling, just a huge, I guess you'd want to say, like, competitive shape that you have to be in order to compete with people, especially who've been going to tournaments all year. And so he had a couple weeks of being able to practice live. And so we went to a tournament last weekend, and in order to participate, you have to go get your weigh in. And so the tournament was in Noble, which is a crappy city by Oklahoma City. And, if you're from Noble, I'm sorry. I only say that because of my experience that I had with the town. You know what I mean? It's not that you might have lived there your whole life and loved Noble. And had just the greatest experiences. I've only had one where I went there to try to serve tacos because they said to come on up, and then they said we couldn't serve. it's quite a drive to pull a 31-foot Airstream stocked full of food to a town and then have them turn you away, even though you're only going to be there for one day. So you get kind of mad. It'd be like, if you were Chinese and you went to Houston once and somebody threw a frickin' egg roll at you or shot you with an egg roll gun. You know what I mean? Like, sure, there's a lot of other Chinese people in Houston that have never had that happen, but I imagine the Chinese person that got hit with the egg roll is like, this place sucks, and that's their experience, and that's mine with Noble. And oftentimes, for clubs like ours that live in a rural community, they'll allow satellite weigh-ins, meaning you don't go to space, meaning you go to a different location that's closer to your crappy little town and weigh in there. And we decided to go to Perkins to weigh in rather than get up, because they said, anyways, a lot of things were said that weren't true. We had to go to Perkins. So we go to Perkins, we weigh in. He makes weight, no big deal. Wasn't worried about that. But I noticed something on that drive to Perkins that I jotted down. Because if you don't know, Perkins, Oklahoma is I mean, it's a traffic. There's no stoplights, I don't think. There's a stop sign in Perkins. There's some gas stations. It is just a township with a handful of businesses, and it's mainly just, it's basically, if a town was a convenience store, that's Perkins. And there is a high school because some of the other small communities surrounding that area have so few people in them that they'll they bus everybody to this location. So it does have a high school there, a really nice high school, and sporting facilities and all that, but there's not really a town. So it's very near Stillwater. It's probably 20 minutes outside of Stillwater, maybe even closer. And we go to Perkins to weigh in, and that's when I noticed there's a water tower there. And on the water tower, it says Perkins, home of the world-famous Pistol Pete. And you guys that are sports fans and stuff like that, you understand. Pistol Pete Maravich was, for white basketball players, especially probably during the early 90s, I'd say from the late 70s to the early 90s, Pistol Pete was a reference to basketball players that felt like, it almost was like the Caucasian Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? It's almost like, because let's be honest, black people are a hell of a lot better at basketball naturally than white people. And for whatever reason, black people seem to enjoy the sport more than white people, I'd say percentage-wise. You know what I mean? You got a lot of white people that like it. I mean, you got White Chocolate out there dribbling between his legs. I get it. You got Steve Kerr's out there. You got a lot of high school athletes. But for whatever reason, to try to compete with black athletes in basketball, there just seems to be some sort of difference in skill set. And Pistol Pete, who probably barely even played post-integration or whatever that is. What's that called? When they, I guess integration. Because it used to be like blacks only and whites only leagues, and then once they merged or whatever and got over the whatever stupid rules that were keeping it and allowed people to play together, I think black people come in and were just, Dr. J-ing a bunch of white people, just freaking dunking on them, doing rock the baby, going between the legs. I mean, white people didn't know how to dribble between their legs until, I'm talking probably 88, 89. White people, the slam dunk, that's a fantasy. You know what I mean? White people couldn't slam dunk. They still can't. So Pistol Pete was this folk hero, and there was a movie about him, and there's documentaries about him, and it was this kid who, at least in my mind, that was so incredible. He could make it from anywhere on the court. He's just an incredible shooter. Couldn't dribble between his legs. Would dribble out in front of him. White people would. You ever watched old white people dribble? It's their stance. They sink their butt down as if they're doing like a full squat, and they almost like waddle down the floor like a duck. I mean, skinny white people sink their butt, have their knees completely bent, and they're just dribbling like 800 times per step. That's how white people used to get down to the other end of the court. It's like, it'd be a white person guarding you who's just as low, and it's just it's a tiny thing. Meanwhile, you get a bunch of black guys that come play them, like they just jump over you. So, but Pistol Pete would stand up from that stance and just drain it, boom, and just score thousands and thousands of points or whatever. Just an incredible shooter. And so he's a hero. He was almost a folk hero. It's like, see, you get nicknamed that if you're a white guy and you try to participate. If you go to the YMCA in a urban community, I used to go to the YMCA in Wichita, and sometimes I'd go down and play basketball because it's good exercise. And you always have this fantasy as a competitor to be like, if I would have put enough practice into this, I could have been pro. That's something that most people think. Like, jeez, I just made 3 in a row. If I would do this every day, I'd be a professional. And so you go down and play, and if you made a couple threes in a row in a game that featured a handful of black people, if you had a mixed game going on, by the end of that game, your nickname would be Pistol Pete. Like, that's gonna come out of one of their mouths. So this guy has lived on generationally. Pistol Pete is famous. And as a white basketball player, you will be nicknamed Pistol Pete if you can make it from beyond the arc at some point. Like, it's like a little Pistol Pete, or you'll be compared to it. So when you pull into Perkins, Oklahoma, there's a big water tower that says home of the world famous Pistol Pete. Okay? Here's the catch. It's not the same Pistol Pete. So, I don't want to be like the town of Noble. I don't want to be a dick. But I got to bend the ear for the town of Perkins at some point and be like, guys, just because Pistol Pete was a world famous cowboy, so, maybe a world famous, probably a world famous criminal. I mean, a lot of those cowboys were criminals that become world famous. Jesse James and Billy the Kid and those heroes that we hear about of the American West and those explorers, those frickin' fur explorers. Those guys are famous, but they're criminals. They would rob. They're like Robin Hoods. They would rob train cars and rob banks and all that crap. And this is the home of the world-famous Pistol Pete, a man that probably won many a duel with his pistol, killed many a men. So we have a water tower named after him. Look how many frickin' men this guy killed. Pistol Pete. Put him on the water tower. So my point is, if you go to like 99 people and you ask them who Pistol Pete is, and they all say, oh, the basketball player, and you go, no, the cowboy, like, I'd never heard of it. Perkins, he's not world famous then, okay? Home of the world famous Tom Hanks, if you had a water tower that said home of the world famous Tom Hanks, because another gentleman named Tom Hanks lived there, one, that's hilarious, but two, when people be like, Tom Hanks was from here, you'd be like, yeah, he's right there. Like, that's not Tom Hanks. Like, that absolutely is Tom Hanks. He works at Sizzler. He's worked here for years. He's a great steak carver here at Sizzler. I'd be like, oh, his name's Tom Hanks. We thought you meant no shit, because that's the world famous one. Okay? So when people are like, Pistol Pete's from there? And they're like, well, not the basketball player. Then you don't get to put it on the water. If everybody's mind goes to something else, something else is the famous one. So you can't just put it on your water tower. Home of the world famous Adam Sandler. Really? Adam Sandler? I thought he was from, New York. Like, not that Adam Sandler. That happens all the time. It's a different Adam Sandler. He's actually the guy that started the quarry here. That the town's kind of built on a quarry. And a lot of the manufacturing from this town comes from that quarry. A lot of the jobs are at that quarry. And Adam Sandler started it. It's like, yeah, that's not world famous. That's locally famous. That's town famous. And it's not water tower worthy. If you go to Moore, Oklahoma, it says home of the world famous Toby Keith, which is hilarious and true. But there might be another gentleman named Toby Keith. My suggestion, change your name, buddy, because you're never going to be the Toby Keith that people think of. Like for me, my name's Conrad, guys. When you say Conrad, guess what people think of? The gentleman that killed Michael Jackson, the doctor, Conrad Murray, killed Michael Jackson with propofol. You know how many times, probably 3 times when I've said my name's Conrad and people were like the doctor? And I'm like, exactly like the doctor. Spelled the same and everything. But if you said home of the world famous Conrad, people would probably go to like, oh, if it's world famous, that doctor that killed Michael Jackson? Like, no, the podcaster that podcasts in his tiny shed on his, little house property in Prague. Oh, it's not world famous. So it doesn't matter, but it does bother me. Anyways, I did have some news stories pulled up, just because they're funny, kind of. I don't know. We don't have to do them, but I had them pulled up here. You guys want to actually see it when I click it. You guys just see my notes. That's the list, I always refer to the list. I say I got stuff on the list, and I'm doing the list, and so I thought I'd put it on the video. I don't know how it'll work. If you want to watch the video, just subscribe on YouTube to Con Radio on YouTube, and that's where I put this video. If you just want to listen, just listen on Spotify or iTunes. If you want to support it, you can go to Con Radio on Patreon, or you can buy CBDs from me through thewaterhead.com. So just go to thewaterhead.com. So, anyways, on this list, I got milk and barbecue sucks. Those are hot takes, but I'm going to click on this news story because I hate Chelsea Handler. Hate's a strong word. That's why I used it. Oops. So I'm not a fan of her. I don't think she's funny. She's eclipsed, you know what I mean? She's eclipsed the shit. She's in the bubble world. She's talking about getting new countertops. She's an idiot. So Chelsea Handler says she didn't know she was on Ozempic, and I'm assuming Ozempic is like Skyrizi and Trulia or what, all those different things you see those commercials. Nothing is beautiful. Skyrizi. Are you tired of plaque psoriasis? It's like, yes, I am. I was hoping there'd be a commercial today about it. Oh, here it is. Nothing is beautiful. Skyrizi, sure, you might crap your brains out, but you're no longer going to have that nasty, ugly, piece of crap looking, you're worthless rash on your elbow. Get that freaking rash off, you unhireable, undesirable person. Get Skyrizi. And so this one's Ozempic. Chelsea says she was never on Ozempic. It's from CNN. So there's a great deal of controversy recently about celebrities using type 2 diabetes medication, Ozempic, for weight loss. Chelsea Handler is now sharing that she was one of those people, though she was not aware of it. I just take what they give me. Hey, I don't want to be fat, and I like to eat. I like to show my boobies off. I'm old and I have boobs, and people want to see them. I'm Chelsea. Make me skinny. During a recent conversation on the Call Her Daddy podcast, whatever that is, Handler said, anti-aging doctor just hands it out to anybody. Her anti-aging doctor. What are you doing today? I'm just going to the doctor. I got to go to the doctor, then I got to go by the store. Oh, yeah? What are you going to the doctor for? You mind if I ask? No, it's fine. It's just my anti-aging doctor. What? You can't stop aging, guys. Every minute you've aged. Are you a doctor to stop minutes and time? Can you stop time, anti-aging doctor? I'm a doctor that stops time. I don't even know what I was on. I didn't even know I was on it, Handler said. She said, if you ever want to drop 5 pounds, this is good. Hey, Chelsea, how about put down the bottle of wine in the basket of frickin' hush puppies and you'll drop 5 pounds, you old Long John Silver's whore. Ozempic is one of those drugs that has gained popularity via social media as effective for quick weight loss. But that has led to complaints that is causing shortages for those who need it as part of their treatment for type 2 diabetes. Chelsea, you weigh 105 pounds. Please hand your Ozempic to the gentleman beside you who weighs 470 pounds and can't get the medication because you don't want another damn dimple on your fat ass. Handler said during the podcast that she injected herself with the drug after she came back from being on vacation in Spain. That's what I'm saying, bitch. Oh, my God. It's just that I came back from Spain, and I was like, I was feeling really bloated. Like, I had just, you know how I was so diligent before I went. I was so diligent before I went to Spain. Okay? And I had the trip planned for weeks, and I thought, if I could just keep my diet in Spain, when I get back from Spain, I'll be fine. But when I got to Spain, I was like, just let it happen. I'm on vacation. And so I was like, I'll eat it. I was eating. I was doing drugs. I was just eating everything in the house. And so when I got back, I was like, I better go see my doctor about losing these 5 pounds. Days later, she went to lunch with a friend who noted that she wasn't planning on eating as she was currently on Ozempic. And I was like, I'm kind of nauseous too. But I'd just come back from Spain and was jet lagged. That's all my problem was. She said that when her friend asked her if she was sure she wasn't taking Ozempic, did you inject your ass with something today? It's like, yeah, I did, but just anti-lagging medicine. I went to the doctor. They gave me anti-jet lag medicine to inject into my ass. So her friend told her that semaglutide is the same medication as Ozempic. I had no idea. I just took it. I just injected it into my butt. Adding that she's no longer taking it and believes it's irresponsible to do so. I'm an irresponsible drug user, but I'm not going to take a diabetic drug, Handler said. I tried it, and I'm not going to do that. That's not for me. See, you can't say you're not going to do something after you did something. That's what I don't understand about, like, this is a new thing that's happening. You know, they go, Chelsea Handler, are you on Ozempic? Not anymore. What happened? Well, I took Ozempic. Oh, did you know that people couldn't get it that needed it? I didn't know what I was taking. I just went to the doctor because I was jet lagged, and I injected whatever they gave me into my ass. It was only when my friend at lunch said that because I don't want to eat, I'm probably taking Ozempic that I stopped then shooting Ozempic into my ass. So, I'm not going to take it. You did take it. Yeah, but, I mean, I'm not going to take it anymore. What are you going to take? Whatever they give me. Who's they? They, anti-aging, whatever, money. I'm in a bubble. I'm going to Spain. I hate people. I love people. I hate Chelsea Handler. So, anyways, that happened. And then I'll just finish out the news with this, guys. Okay, if you're a stalker, if you're out there stalking around, come on, buddy. You can be a stalker in this, especially with the technology that we got today. God, you can get a toilet cam in almost any celebrity's toilet. But let me just tell you this, guys. Stalker's gonna stalk. I'll tell you that up front. Stalker's gonna stalk. If you're gonna be a stalker, you gotta pick the right target, buddy. Headline of this story: Kelly Clarkson stalker arrested again. ... 12 violations? Mostly at 8:59 p.m. What? 12 violations? Kelly Clarkson has a Kelly Clarkson's divorced And she needs Ozempic, dog. You don't have to stalk her. You probably just got to talk to her. You probably could date her. You know, send her an email. I think she's on that. I think she's on JDate, dude. You can get her. Kelly Clarkson, a stalker who just won't quit, got arrested again outside Kelly Clarkson's house. Huguette Nicole Young, Hugo probably for short, a man called Hugo, was arrested Wednesday. Oh, Huguette Young, world famous Huguette Young, was arrested Wednesday night outside Kelly's San Fernando Valley home. Kelly already had a temporary restraining order against her, like it's a woman, and a permanent one as well. But the woman has now violated the terms of the restraining order 12 times. Kelly! Kelly, it's me, Huguetta! Come out! Just want to see you and smell you. I love you. Nothing creepy. I just want to be your best friend. Kelly, we're so much alike. Kelly, I brought a corn dog. Kelly, corn dog! Shit, I got arrested again. Security caught her meandering around Kelly's property and called 911.
Hello? Yeah, this is Kelly Clarkson's security guy. We got Huguetta out here. She's wandering around. Yeah. So, can you just come arrest this bitch? She's been here 12 times. Yeah, sure, I can do that. But the number says it's coming from a, Carl's Jr.? Yeah, our security guard, Shaq, also doubles as a personal Kelly Clarkson Carl's Jr. house. It's a burger house just for Kelly Clarkson. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll send an officer out there right now.
So, anyways, if you're gonna, stalking is bad, guys. In a way, it's romantic, and in a way, it's really flattering. I understand 26 years ago when you saw American Idol and Kelly Clarkson was on there and she's beautiful and had a powerful voice, why you'd be like, I'm going to stalk this person. The only people stalking Kelly Clarkson now should be big game hunters, guys. You understand? Huguetta, go home. Find a new one. Stalk them. Stalkers should have a podcast. That would be fun. That would be a fun thing, be like Inside the Mind of Stalkers, where you just get all these stalkers and you're like, what were you doing? Like what were you fantasizing about? And what did you hope would happen if she was like, Huguetta, is that you at the gate? Shit. I'm sorry, come on in. Like, what did you hope then would happen? Oh, I'm sorry, Huguetta, is that you? I was just having a fool's gold loaf. No, it's a loaf of bread that's cut into 24 slices, each of which is then packed with peanut butter and jelly. So basically 12 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, then smushed back into a loaf, and then wrapped with bacon and deep fried. That's a fool's gold loaf. Hey, Huguetta, come on in. It's me, Kelly. Let's split this son of a bitch. Nothing is beautiful. Huguetta, do you have frickin' Sky Rizzy? Because you got an awful rash. So, anyways, I got to get out of here. I got to go do some more work somewhere where we work at some point. Let's see what time I got on this bad boy. I didn't mean to talk about all this stuff. What do I got on notes? I got milk, but I'll talk about that later. And I got hot take on barbecue sucking. Talk about that later. I'll leave you with this. If moving forward on the show, on this show, okay, there's a number of shows. There's those guys from Wichita. There's the Connie G show. There's the OK Taco show. All that stuff, and when I didn't know what we were doing and I didn't know how to do it and I didn't know anything, like I always, and I still don't, I tried to be like, I'll put all these in one place, Con Radio. It just doesn't work because nobody understands anything. You guys do that already understand it, so I'm preaching to the choir. But I'll just let you know that the OK Taco show is all going to be its own thing. That's its own deal. It's part of the building. It'll be part of the OK Taco Club. The Patreon will be called the OK Taco Club. We're going to try to build some easier navigation that's easier to consume for people that have no idea what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So that's on the books to do. So that leaves us with this, and I've been thinking a lot about it because if the majority of shows that I'm consistently going to be doing are the OK Taco Show and then this, the Connie G Show, there's really not any reason for there to be this blanket Con Radio because we don't have the other show happening as frequently. And so for easiness to brand, you know, Con Radio might go all the way back to the beginning and it just be the Connie G Show. You know what I mean? That's just what it is 90% of the time. And when we get to have special times with the other guys and get to do those guys from Wichita, it will just be the Connie G Show presents those guys from Wichita, or the OK Taco Show presents those guys from Wichita, or whatever. Maybe a mixture of both. I don't know. So I'm just saying if some things change around and it's confusing, it's a good time for me to do it because it's only a good time for me to do it because nothing, you know, I'm doing this for just a handful of people. I've been doing it for 10 years and not that many people care. You know what I mean? I've already had the Connie G Show set up as its own feed. I mean, I know how little I'm doing it for myself and my own sanity a lot of times, but there's a mission and a goal. This is what I love to do, and I hope at someday it catches on and people like what I have to say. But if they don't or it never catches on, it's just me, and so it doesn't really matter anyways. But that's a long way of saying moving forward, I'm going to try to brand things this way, meaning OK Taco Club is all related to the taco shop. The Connie G Show is the Connie G Show, and that's it. So when people say, what do you do? It's like, well, we have the taco shop. Is that got that club? Yeah. And do you do other? Yeah, we do. I do the Connie G Show. And that will include everything. And rather than saying I do Con Radio, which includes, and at the time it included all three. You know what I mean? Things change, things don't make sense, and maybe I jumped the gun on all that crap, and it should have always been called the Connie G Show, what it initially was called for years. And, you know, had I not been dumb and young and not understood that I had a passion for this or loved doing it, you know, we should be coming up on 13 years or over 13 years of one show consistently, week after week, always having new content, and that's me doing something. I've just tried all these different angles and all this different crap to try to make a splash somehow, and it never worked, and I should have just stayed the same. But anyways, that will be happening, and it shouldn't change anything. I think all your feeds will just update it, you know, so it shouldn't change anything if you're already here. It's just something I've been thinking about on top of everything else. So we're getting close to opening on the taco shop. I've got to go meet with Shannon. We got the distributor for Coke coming out, and we got some interviews to do, and so good things happening there. It's frightening, it's scary, it's all that stuff, but, you know, that's part of it. And also, you got to, you know, I still have my running to do every day, and I don't really talk about that much. I probably should do a little bit more. Sometimes I think, not talk about it all the time, but just it's part of what I go through, and I've challenged myself to do, and I think it is good to have those challenges for yourself that have nothing to do with anybody else, and it doesn't even have to make sense to anybody else. So I'm trying to do 5 miles every day, 5-mile run every day. Takes me less than an hour, usually less than 50 minutes. So it didn't start there. You guys know where I started on all that. So a lot of you do. And it's not hard anymore. I just go run for 50 minutes, which is not a good. It's hard. The hard part's like everything else, just like going to the gym. The hard part's psyching yourself into going and doing it every morning. But I made it so far. I actually started last year doing it a lot more, but I wanted it to be every day this year, and so we're almost here to the end of January, and luckily, and thank God, I've made it, you know. So I just got to continue that streak, 5 miles a day. for the year. You know, it's funny because it's not. You don't even really think about it as a thing anymore. You just when you do it. I made it all year. I mean, I don't know how many days I've had in a row of a mile, at least a mile. Usually 2 or 3. I mean, well over a year of running every day, but that's the goal this year. I didn't want. Sometimes I don't like putting them out there in case I fail, but the only person I can fail is myself. So what does it matter? It matters tremendously to me. But anyways, that's the goal. I did it already today. I'm done with that. Pick one out for yourself. Try to do something. You know, explore something different, new. And if you like the show, keep liking it, keep sharing it, keep helping people find it, keep supporting it, and we'll keep doing it. I'll keep doing this. And with that being said, don't let your meatloaf. Have an okay day. Love yourself. Until next time, Hakuna Matata.